Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Your time is precious, so I'm certainly not going to waste it. Thank you for sharing it with me today. This is a late night video, and I wouldn't waste your time if I didn't have something to say. And what I want to tell you guys today is that I'm selling any stock that I have left, because I do believe that the mother of all black swan events is right around the corner, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, we have Putin allegedly hiding in a bunker, warning all his family members that it's time to make sure that you have your bags packed, because we might have to fly you out to this bunker with his finger over the nuclear trigger, allegedly. Okay? We have Poland asking NATO for nuclear weapons, even though, as I've been told, as long as you have the delivery systems, you technically are a nuclear superpower. Therefore, any country who's in possession of F-35s will effectively be a nuclear superpower, because F-35s can deliver nuclear weapons. This is what I've heard. Anyways, we have Ramzan Kadyrov, now third in command of the Russian military. Third in command. That's quite the promotion. Only days after, this is the Chechen leader, the war hawk. People call him Putin's pit bull, whatever you want to call him, the guy who's sending his 3 16-year-old sons, or 16, 14, whatever, to fight on the front lines of Ukraine. This guy has now been promoted. Only days ago, recommended that Putin authorize the use of tactical nuclear weapons on the battlefield in Ukraine in order to push back the offensives that are going on, that are being waged by the Ukrainians right now. If you folks out there believe the Western mainstream narrative, you need to have your bug-out bags packed. And by Western media narrative, I mean that Ukrainians are winning and the Russians are being pushed back to the line. I want you to understand something right now. Please stop everything you're doing and listen to me. Watch this video. I'm not trying to hypnotize you or anything. I just want you to understand something. If the Russians are actually losing this war and are being pushed back to the line which of course is now deeper into their territory, because of course, as of today, it's official. Everything's been signed. Putin ratified by the Duma. Everything is now official. According to the Russian Federation, those 4 occupied territories are Russian territory, meaning that Ukraine is now on Russian territory. According to the Russians, don't cancel me, okay? But if you're one of these people who changed your avatar and is well-meaning and all the rest, and you got the Ukrainian flag on your avatar, and you think that Putin is losing this war, you need to have your bug-out bags packed. You need to put as much food, water as you can into your basement. If possible, dig a bunker as deep as you possibly can immediately, because if Ukraine is actually successful in their campaign to drive the Russians out, which not many people think they're going to be, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why in a minute, you need to prepare for nuclear Armageddon, because that's guaranteed to happen. You don't understand this, do you? A lot of you don't understand that if Russia loses the conventional war, it's nuclear war. That's what Elon Musk was trying to tell people. Even he understands the gravity of the situation. You have all of these YouTube channels now coming out of the woodwork, making this the focal point of their videos for the last few days, because everybody understands. They're still calling me a fearmonger. I mean, that's fine. It's copium, it's denial, it's what it is, it's plausible deniability, it's, trying to get more credibility for themselves. I don't know what it is, I really don't care. But we have been uncannily accurate in our predictions thus far, and the only reason I chalk that up to is because we try to view this situation objectively. Okay, we don't follow the Western media narrative, but we also don't succumb to the Russian media narrative. And there are 2 different accounts, and both think they're correct. Both think they're the de facto truth of the matter. And that's our options right now. Either Russia wins the war conventionally, and a lot of people don't want to hear this. I don't understand how a person, maybe people just repress the idea. They just hope that Putin's bluffing. No, we're not going to destroy the planet, right? Because I can't remain in charge. You guys need to understand something about the leadership class in any country. They have a one-way ticket to a bunker that's buried under 1,000 feet of rock and granite. In Russia's case, granite. They'll be fine in a nuclear war. I mean, their privilege is going to be sustained. Yeah, they may not be billionaires and you just a mere wage slave trying to get by, but they're going to be the people with food and bullets and water while your hair is falling out, okay, and you have nothing to eat. That divide, relatively, is as great. They're going to maintain that edge over you. And this is why they can play this nuclear game of chicken with a poker face, because they have less to lose. They're playing with other people's money. They're playing with our lives. And it's to the point where you almost need to start seeing a bit of a movement against this insanity. And I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to lead it, but I'm just saying, if you really think that you are now going to, I mean, just the math of it all. I mean, even how the law is written in Russia, if they feel that any bit of their territory is at risk of being taken over, or if the threat of their, the existence of Russia is under threat, what is happening right now, if you believe the Western media narrative, constitutes that a threat to their existence. Therefore, it's only a matter of time before a bomb drops and you see the mother of all panic sell-offs. A sell-off the likes of which you have never seen. I'm talking 20, 30, 40% in the first day. As much as the market could possibly sell off, you will see sell off. And when I say that, I mean, there's only so many people that are going to be buying from the people who are selling. So you can only have, and actually I think what they're probably going to do, they're just going to turn the stock market off. So, and hope that maybe the next day, people are going to be waiting for NATO's response. Because the reason why it would sell off so rapidly is because that's the impetus to what would ultimately be a chain of events that worked its way up to the strategic nuclear level. Even if NATO only responded conventionally, it's likely that Russia would push back against that. And then ultimately, NATO's nuclear posturing is going to be on high alert. And that's when even just accidents could potentially happen at that point. Okay? All of this nuclear talk about, missiles moving on trains, airplanes, submarines, it's all real. I mean, that's what people need. It's all real. It's all actually happening. I know it's so surreal because a lot of people have just been in la la land for so long. We've been beating on this dead horse for months that this is now a real threat. I hope I'm like some of the tinfoilers on my channel who believe that this is just one last chance to shake all the weak hands out of the market. Maybe that is the case. Maybe it's Davos and the good old boys who are just sitting there waiting to call up Putin and say, all right, push the button. We're going to crash everything. Then we're going to go up there and we're going to buy everything at rock bottom bargain prices. I hope that's the case, guys, because I want my kids to have a future. But I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think they're dead serious. I think this is a game of chicken, and the ones who have the least to lose and the most to lose at the same time, because of course, a lot of their wealth, any billionaire's wealth, is based in this system that's taken hundreds of years in order to develop the social order to facilitate their acquisition of the power that they've acquired. That's going to be gone in a nanosecond. And, okay, but on the bright side, on the not so bright side, if you're Ukrainian, I do think the Russians are holding back. I would strongly encourage people to go and study the interviews that I did with Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, because I think he was onto something. This whole retreat from almost every part of the map is very, very sus, to say the least. It appears to me obvious that the Russians have not exhausted their conventional military potential at all, not even close. If this was a real war, you would not see celebrities, politicians going and doing photo ops in Kiev. You would not have McDonald's still operational in Kiev. So clearly, the Russians are withholding. They are exercising some restraint. Now, that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because they want to preserve the critical infrastructure. We've been saying that since day one. However, they have, in recent weeks, started to target that critical infrastructure, if only to just make a point, if only to just put the Zelensky administration on notice that, hey, the bar is being moved here. Now, what I suspect is happening now with this mobilization, it's obvious they're gearing up for a full-scale war with Ukraine. You're going to see bombs over Baghdad style shock and awe tactics being employed. I think this is it. I think that either the mainstream news is right and all of these offensives are successful. They've pierced the defensive line in Kherson, and that's the beginning of the end for the Russian military in a conventional sense, and now it's about to go nuclear, or the rains are going to come, the offensive is going to slow, and that's going to be the end of that. Ukraine, now beleaguered and exhausted, are going to be at the limits of their ability to dictate the battlefield, dictate the offensive, where the wars are fought, where the battles are fought, I should say. And now Russia makes their grand chess move, which will be just total annihilation. They have the capability to do that. Clearly, they have the capability. And this is why I don't understand David Petraeus. I don't know if he's just dumb or if he's being insincere, disingenuous, what it is. But he knows that they are withholding. Everybody knows that they are withholding. Yet, they continue to push this narrative that they're losing and that there's no hope and that they're running scared. And even if they do put a nuke out, we'll just destroy their entire military. It's literally what he said. Yeah, we'll sink the whole Black Sea fleet and we'll take out all their assets in Ukraine and that'll be the end of it. And the Russians will just go home and say, oh, I guess we lost. Man, people be smoking something. I don't understand what's going on. Is it groupthink? Is there some mass psychosis? Is it a mass hallucination? What sort of social, psychological explanation is there for this nuttery that we're seeing? Because if you believe the Western media narrative, you need to be stockpiling things to the rafters. You need to be panic buying before the panic starts. Personally, guys, I'm getting out of the stock market for the foreseeable future. Yes, I still have a few stocks. I try to diversify, a little bit of gold, a little bit of stocks. Don't have a whole hell of a lot, but you know what little I have been able to acquire by working vigorously for the last 10 years in preparation for this very thing, I'm getting out of the stock market. I've been holding diamond hands because, yeah, it's been a tough year. And a lot of people, myself included, have been eating you know what. And I'm at the point now where I think if that bomb gets detonated, even if it's a low yield tactical, doesn't matter, Davy Crockett, 20-ton mini nuke, it doesn't matter. Even if it's just a test, okay? Even if there's this talk of sabotage on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant where they're going to take out a dam and flood it or something like that. Even if that happens, okay, you're going to see panic. Panic. The likes of which we've never seen. And they're going to close the markets. That's what they're going to do. They're going to close the markets. I know I'm being melodramatic. I'm trying to be melodramatic because this is important. We're talking about the end of civilization as we know it, potentially, or just the complete annihilation of a European country. That's what we're talking about. Now, if anybody had to choose, would you rather one country go or the human race? I think most people, if they were rational. I'm not saying it's one of those, Neo having to decide between Trinity and saving the world type thing, right? I get it. It's an ethical dilemma. But, you have to choose one. And at the end of the day, what Elon Musk was trying to say was, if we can't find a peaceful negotiation, then millions of people are going to die. And I think millions could potentially be an understatement. He knows very well what he said when he used the word millions. He's a smart guy. Okay, he's not talking about thousands of people dying in Ukraine. He's talking about millions of people dying in global thermonuclear war, World War III. So, if I'm scaring you, at this point, that's probably a good thing if it motivates you to prepare. If you're a person who doesn't believe verbatim the Western media narrative, then perhaps you have a bit more flexibility with respect to how you can respond to this perspective I'm sharing with you. You can just see it as, it's all BS. Russia is ready to do the 4D chess move. There aren't going to be any nuclear weapons. The placement of Ramzan Kadyrov was simply a political decision by Putin in order to appease the war hawks and try to bring your friends close, or bring your enemies close to control them, like a controlled opposition, so to speak. Because this Ramzan guy, I even speculate, I've had this intuition for a long time that he has the potential to kind of move up the ranks, possibly to be even the leader at some point of that country. And I don't know how the Russian laws work, if you're Chechen, if you're not, Russian born, if you're able to, I don't understand that, the laws with respect to who can become president. But I think Putin sees that. So I think Putin is like, well, it's better to have these people close to me. Because he is very hawkish. He's the one who's calling for the use of tactical nuclear weapons now. And I don't think this is fake. I don't think this guy is acting. This is the guy who was crying during Putin's speech. The only one there who was crying. Everybody else was scared shitless. Except for this guy, because he lives, breathes war. He's just, he's from a warlike society, to be brutally honest. And that is what it is. So all of these little oscillations on the battlefield, these tactical maneuvers, you should not lose sight of the fact that there is a much bigger war being waged here. On a strategic level, it's economic, it's cultural, and Russia knows that. I'm presuming that Russia knows that, one of the best ways they can win this war is by getting NATO to fight with each other. That would be a win unto itself, no matter how much territory they lose. If NATO eats itself and destroys itself and that whole thing implodes, then half the work has been done, right? The real art of war is not fought on the battlefield. It's in the back channels, right? It's fought before the battle is even fought. And this is why, one of the laws in the art of war is that most battles are determined before they're even fought. Like, who's going to win. So, I think that this high stakes game of chicken that's being played with our money, because remember, the leaders, they have less to lose than we do. I believe that it's real, that there's definitely a possibility that Putin is in a bunker with his finger over the trigger. But I also think that there's a very good chance that they're just going to stage a major conventional offensive soon, and that all of this hype in the media is just that. Now, I hate to be that guy who doesn't give you a direct, forecast, and, because I could be charged with, I'm just trying to give myself an out if the prediction doesn't come true. But I really don't know right now, guys. I don't know what is going to happen. All I know is that the stakes are very, very high. And I do know for certain, 100% certainty, if you believe what MSNBC and CNN and all those other agencies are saying, if you believe that, then you need to prepare for thermonuclear war. And you need to get comfortable with that idea. You need to get comfortable of the dystopian hellscape amidst the sea of anarchy. Like these dystopian urban centers that are under martial law, and anything outside the gates is going to be total Mad Max anarchy, right? We're talking about the irradiated wasteland now. You need to get really comfortable with that reality, because that's the reality. That's the only possible outcome of Russia being pushed back to the line. Now, theoretically, could it happen that the Russians just turn tail and say, okay, we lost. This is no longer an existential threat to the Russian Federation. We're going to take this out of the law and we're just going to, concede this territory back to you. We'll still officially think it's Russian, but we won't do anything about it. Yeah, it's possible, but not very likely. Not even not very likely. I'm going to say highly improbable. So anyways, what have I not touched upon today? Yeah, so this claim that Putin is in a bunker with his finger over the trigger is from a questionable source. It's from an anti-Kremlin source. I believe it's the SVR channel. This is reported by the Daily Mail. Now, the Daily Mail is by and large a tabloid. Nonetheless, it still gets free reign on the Google News search results. Its stories still show up on Google News, meaning that it's pseudo-official, if you believe that, insofar as you believe that legacy media is official. They reported on this, possibly just to get clicks, but there's probably some truth to it. Now, basically, they're claiming that Putin, according to this inside source, is holed up in a bunker, and he's calling all his family members, telling them that, hey, you need to be prepared to evacuate Russian officials when the time comes. And he invited there's a bunch of names here of the top brass, and that you need to have your bags packed and ready at the door because the shit's going to hit the fan. That's what they're saying. Okay, you have Poland requesting that NATO provide them with nuclear weapons. Now, as far as I've heard this recently said, I never thought about this before. It's that any country who is in possession of F-35s or any delivery system capable of, projecting nuclear force is already in the crosshairs of Russia, is already in Russia's mind a nuclear threat. Because having the delivery system is half the battle. That's why North Korea, that's why they keep having to do these missile tests. Because it's all fine and dandy to have a nuke. But if you don't have a delivery system for it, then it's really more of a liability. Especially if your enemy hits you first. So, anyways, that's just an interesting aside for you to contemplate. What else? Yeah, I'm really astonished that so many YouTube channels now are talking about this kind of stuff. That's concerning for me because that means it's about to hit a critical mass in the mainstream and the panic is about to start. Never mind the panic of the actual day that it happens. That is going to be... Whew. That's why I'm getting out of the markets, guys. Putin has officially taken control of the nuclear power plant. They've claimed it, right? And that, of course, may well precede the provocation that is about to occur. Some people are suspecting that the Ukrainians are going to try to flood it by blowing it down. Now, I don't know. Just go and do the research yourself. I'm just saying. That's what I've heard. South Korea hit themselves with a missile. I'm sure Kim Jong-un is laughing his ass off about that. Hopefully nobody was hurt. But of course, they were doing this in response to North Korea firing missiles. So Kim Jong-un is probably having a good time with that. Now, I want to leave you guys on a positive note because there's so much bad news right now. Bird flu is out of control in wild populations, which means it's only a matter of time before it jumps to humans. We got California, 95% is in a state of extreme drought. And things are just getting bad all over. I want to leave you with this positive thought, okay? Apparently, Russian cosmonaut Kikina is going to travel to the ISS aboard SpaceX. Okay, so at least in terms of space exploration, at least there still is some cooperation between Russia and the United States on that. At least. Okay, at least Elon Musk is trying to keep the people from destroying themselves. And I'm not a huge Musk fan for a variety of reasons. Yeah, I drive a Tesla because it has very little to do with the green aspect. I don't delude myself about that. It's more about the functionality of the vehicle and the practicality of it. Anyways, he's trying to, I guess, do his part to stop us from destroying civilization. Let's see how successful he is. Guys, you take care. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about anything I've discussed today. And stock up while you can. Stock up while the getting is good, because a long, dark-ass winter is coming. And you better be prepared to endure it if the grid goes down. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.